Franklin Delano Roosevelt, the 32nd President of the United States of America, by Natalie Roe. On January 30th, 1882, Franklin Delano Roosevelt was born into an affluent and politically charged family. He was the fifth cousin of Theodore, or Teddy Roosevelt, the 26th President of the United States. Many members of Franklin's family considered running for office, but he would be the only to join the Democratic Party. Nevertheless, Teddy was fond of his cousin. In August of 1921, at the age of 39, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, or FDR, contracted polio while vacationing on Campobello Island off the coast of Maine with his family. Within 2 weeks, he was paralyzed from the waist down. He had enough money to retire, but he didn't. Franklin's early interest in politics only deepened while he followed his cousin's accomplishments. FDR quit working at a law firm and joined Woodrow Wilson's administration as the Assistant Secretary of the Navy, a move calculated to help him build relationships within the Democratic Party. He ran for governor of New York in 1928. He won and soon became the front-runner of the Democratic Party for the 1932 presidential elections. Before he began his campaign, he asked Teddy for his blessing, since he was running as a Democrat. Teddy gave him his blessing, but added that it was a shame. FDR won the 1932 elections and the next 3 to follow. At the time, he was the youngest president in history. He took office 3 years into the Great Depression. In his inaugural speech, he said, "First of all, let me assert my firm belief that the only thing we have to fear is fear itself, nameless unreasoning, unjustified terror, which paralyzes needed efforts to convert retreat into advance. In every dark hour of our national life, a leadership of frankness and vigor has met with that understanding and support of the people themselves, which is essential to victory. I am convinced that you will again give that support to leadership in these critical days." This was indicative of what America could expect from FDR as their president for the better part of the next decade. His first 100 days in office are formally referred to as such because of the immediate action he took to save the economy, outline the New Deal, restore the value of agriculture, and create relief programs for the poor. Only 2 days after his inauguration speech, he closed the entire banking system. When the banks reopened, the Federal Reserve was prepared to back all transactions. People trusted the system again, and banks avoided collapse. Unemployment was at an all-time high at 25.2%. About 13 million people were affected when FDR took office. After the first 100 days, he focused his attention on creating jobs and welfare programs. His wife, Eleanor, who was also Teddy Roosevelt's niece, had made FDR aware of the conditions the poor lived amongst before he took office. He had no idea anyone lived like that until she opened his eyes. FDR created the Works Progress Administration, which produced 8.5 million governmentally funded jobs constructing roads and buildings. He formed the Social Security Administration in 1935, granting compensation for elderly and unemployed. He also started the Civilian Conservation Corps, which helped preserve natural resources. This program was made for young and unskilled laborers who otherwise would have had trouble making a living. Voters were pleased with the number of jobs the president created. They liked him because he was charismatic, a strong leader, inspirational, and upfront. He won the 1936 election in a landslide victory of 523 to 8. FDR comes second only to Abraham Lincoln with regards to the best president in history. Even though America was still sliding further into depression, his fireside chats kept the country feeling informed and hopeful. Fireside chats were the president's radio speeches addressing the tasks at hand in an informal, family-oriented way. As the New Deal came to an end, threats of World War II were prominent. Still, FDR won a third election in 1940. However, Pearl Harbor was attacked on December 7, 1941, and the nation's confidence took a hit. FDR did not intend to lead the country into war. In fact, he was known for repeating an African proverb, "Speak softly and carry a big stick, and you will go far." Shortly after the attack, FDR met with Winston Churchill, the Prime Minister of Great Britain, and they formed the Grand Alliance. They had a shared interest in defeating Germany and Italy. Later, Winston Churchill, FDR, and Joseph Stalin formed the United Nations, a venue still used for nations to meet to compromise on conflicting issues and interests. Franklin Delano Roosevelt is the only president to win 4 consecutive elections. He restructured the office into its present form. He created many relief programs that helped Americans survive the Great Depression. Some, like the Social Security Administration, have been modified but are still in effect today. On April 12, 1945, the president mentioned he had a terrible headache and died of cerebral hemorrhaging hours later. Vice President Harry S. Truman became president and finished out FDR's term. FDR was a crusader of freedom. He wanted America to be confident, hardworking, patient, and strong. He achieved the first agreement with the Soviet Union. He shifted the Bureau of the Budget from the Treasury Department to the White House. He was renowned for his ability to be flexible and solve problems in the face of an economic crisis. He was a wonderful president that restored hope in many Americans.